Hello everyone, this video goes through the story of Witcher Trilogy. Geralt is tasked with curing Temeria King Fortest's daughter, Princess Ada, of a curse that transforms her into a feral monster. Years later, a group of Witchers find an amnesic Geralt unconscious in the field and take him to the Witcher stronghold of Kaer Morhen. As he struggles to recall his memories, the castle is attacked by a gang of bandits named the Salamandra. The Witchers and sorcerers chase Marigold back to the invaders, but the mage Asa Javid and assassin Professor escape with the mutagenic potions that genetically alter the Witchers. The Witchers head off in different directions to find information on the Salamandra. Geralt heads south to Vizima, capital of Temeria and where Fortest reigns. On the outskirts, he learned that Vizima is in quarantine. To obtain a pass, Geralt defeats a hellhound plaguing the outskirts, but is arrested upon trying to enter Vizima. Geralt volunteers to kill a monster in the sewers in exchange for his freedom from jail and emerges in Vizima's temple quarter. With the help of a private investigator, Geralt pursues multiple leads on the Salamander and witnesses rising tensions between the Order of Flaming Rose and the Scoia'tael. After confrontation with Asa Javid and the Professor, Geralt is knocked unconscious and saved by Triss, who invites him to a party of high-standing officials in Vizima's trade quarter. There, Geralt meets Princess Ada and gains several new leads on Salamandra's business front. Geralt finally assaults the Salamandra base in Vizima with the help of either the Order or the Scoia'tael and kills the Professor, but finds himself surrounded by royal guards after escaping. Ada, who has been forging royal edicts in Fortest's absence, declares that she must kill him to conceal her treasury before Triss teleports him to a village on the other side of Vizima Lake. Eventually, however, the conflict between the Order and the Scoia'tael threatens the village, forcing Geralt to finally pick a side, and Geralt and Dandelion decide to sail back to Vizima to end the Salamandra. Fortest finally returns and retakes control of her castle, but at the same time, civil war has broken out. The Scoia'tael have caused an uprising, and the Order of Flaming Rose has responded by killing non-humans with little concern. Depending on which side Geralt took in the previous battle, he must either help the knights or the elves in the conflict. He also deals with Ada, who has suffered from a relapse of her curse, after which the grateful king discloses clues about Asa Javid's location. Storming the main Salamandra base with his allies, Geralt finally kills the evil mage, but is shocked to learn that the Grand Master of the Order of Flaming Rose is the mastermind behind the Salamandra's mutation program. With most knights of the Order and the mutants now entering open rebellion, the king again turns to Geralt with a contract to kill the Grand Master. Upon being confronted, the Grand Master tries to persuade Geralt of his greater plan to save humanity from a prophecy of world-consuming ice. The skeptical Geralt is cast into an icy wasteland illusion by the Grand Master. Geralt successfully defeats him and is then approached by the King of Wild Hunt in Spectre form. The Spectre warns Geralt of the impending events and disappears, upon which Geralt murders Grand Master and escapes the illusion. A man with a Witcher's vertical pupils attempts to assassinate Fortest. However, he is thwarted by Geralt, who successfully protects the king. After the attempted assassination of Fortest, the king insists that Geralt stay with him as his personal bodyguard, and Triss as his advisor. Fortest and Baroness of Lavalette have two children, Anais and Bussy, but the Baroness' advisors have turned her against him, and she, together with his older son Arya, are now rebelling against Fortest. Fortest and his forces conquered Lavalette Castle, but a dragon attack caused Fortest and Geralt to have become separated from the rest of the forces by the time Fortest was finally reunited with his children in a monastery, where they were being guarded by a monk. Fortest ordered Geralt to keep his distance, which meant he was too far away to prevent the monk from assassinating Fortest and then leap out of the window. Fortest's men surged into the room to find Geralt, sword drawn, standing over the body of the king. He was immediately arrested and accused guilty of the murder. In a prison cell, Gero is interrogated by Venom Rush, commander of King Fortest's Special Forces Unit, the Blue Stripes. Gero tells him that he had seen Scoia'tael wearing trophies that identified him as a part of a unit led by an elf called Eorvath. The killer had escaped with their help. Rush has a spy who had reported seeing Eorvath about a week earlier with a man fitting the same description. Rush wants Gero to help him to find a real killer, so he helps Gero to escape and sail for Flotsam together. Gero, Triss and Rush disembark from the boat and head into Flotsam. As they arrive, they see Eorvath with the Kingslayer, watching them from a vantage point above. The Kingslayer also looks remarkably like a witcher. Gero meets the sorceress Sheila in the town, and they together help the town to get rid of a tentacle monster, Karen. An elf close to Eorvath was found wounded in the forest, and is now in custody. Gero and Triss get onto the prison bars to question him, and find that his comrades were killed, and he was wounded by the Kingslayer, now identified as Lethal. The prisoner tells Gero this in the hope that Gero will pass on a message to Eorvath. Gero does just that, and Eorvath listens, but he isn't convinced. He agrees to a test. He will set up a meeting with Lethal and pretend to be Gero's prisoner. Hopefully, Lethal will let slip something that proves it one way or another. The meeting is interrupted by the attacking of Rush and his Blue Stripes. Gero and Lethal fall into the ruins below the meeting place. They fight, and Lethal wins but doesn't kill him. Instead, he tells Gero that he owes him a debt, but that next time it will be different. He then leaves, his parting line being that he needs to get Vergen before Eorvath can war his men, and that he will be needing Gero's sorceress to do that. Gero races back to Flotsam, but it's too late. Triss has disappeared, and witnesses confirm that Lethal took her. Vergen is currently part of Aedion, but was once part of Cadwyn. And Hansel, the king of Cadwyn, has taken advantage of the death of Aedion's king to raise an army with the intention of attacking it. His invasion is interrupted by a magic-induced mist, in which a ghostly army fights an eternal battle at the border of Vergen. Upon arrival, Gero promises Hansel to help clear the mist, and when he gathers the information, he and Rush find that Triss is captured by Nilfgaardian troops, who has abandoned the camp, heading for Lochmeen. One night, Gero stops an assassination on Hansel, killing one of the Witchers. Hansel's mage advisor, Desmond, is able to use magic to recover the final memory of the dead Witcher, which Gero relieves. From this, he found that Lethal was in the area, but has also left for Lochmeen. He also discovers Sheila was their employer, and therefore, presumably behind assassinations. Gero successfully clears the mist, but left unconscious on the battlefield, where Dandelion finds him. It takes several days for him to regain consciousness, and Hansel has now launched his attack on Vergen. Hansel has also found out a conspiracy led by Rush, who had been working with dissidents for years to bring Hansel down. So the Cadwynians have hanged the Blue Stripes, leaving Vess, Rush's female lieutenant, as the only survivor. After helping Rush to settle his enmity with Hansel, Gero heads to Lochmeen along with Rush. In Lochmeen, Gero fights into a Nilfgaardian camp to rescue Triss. Triss explained that the Lodge of Sorceresses seek to create a country ruled by magic, so some members of the Lodge hire Lethal to murder Aedion King Demavend and support a peace and a revolt in order to turn the Pontar Valley into a separate country under their control. However, Lethal was secretly working against them for Nilfgaard, who is looking forward to invading North Kingdoms. He killed King Fortest, connecting the Lodge to Second King's death. Gero and Triss attended a summit held by the Lodge in Lochmeenians, during which Triss interrupted the meeting, denouncing Sheila and those other sorceresses she believed responsible for the assassinations. Sheila responds by calling down the dragon to destroy everyone and then disappears. Gero goes after the dragon on a tower, and as he climbs it, he meets Sheila, who is about to teleport out of danger. Before she goes, she tells him that the Lodge of Sorceresses, like Eorvath, had been duped by Lethal, who was following orders from Nilfgaard. The Lodge had wanted Demavend killed, but not the other kings. Gero climbs the tower and fights the dragon. It's a tough fight, but he finally wins, making the dragon greatly wounded. Afterwards, Gero returns to the city and meets up with Triss. Lethal is waiting for him, and admits that he was working for the Nilfgaardians, and that he duped both Lodge and Eorvath to turn them into allies. Either fighting him or just walking away, Geralt then leaves Lockmine to continue his adventures, and Nilfgaard begins the invasion into the North Kingdoms. Geralt receives a letter from Yennefer, a witch and his former lover, who requests to meet him. Geralt and his mentor Vesemir head out to find her. On his journey, Geralt has a dream in which he sees Yennefer and Ciri, his adopted daughter. He also sees Wild Hunt, a phantom army whose appearance is a symbol of the end of the world. In the Temerian village of White Orchard, Yennefer finds Geralt and Vesemir after an incident in a tavern, and tells Geralt that Emir var Emrys, the Emperor of Nilfgaard, has summoned him to Vizimar, the capital of Temeria occupied by Nilfgaard. Along the way to Vizimar, Geralt and Yennefer are ambushed by the Wild Hunt, but Yennefer successfully teleports them away. In Vizimar, Emir reveals that Ciri is in fact his biological daughter and asks Geralt to find her because the Wild Hunt intends to capture her and extract her elder blood powers. In Valen, Geralt finds a Nilfgaardian spy he was supposed to contact, tortured to death by the Wild Hunt. The spy's notes lead Geralt to Philip Stanger, known as the Bloody Baron, who tasks Geralt to find his wife and daughter in exchange for information on Ciri. After learning of the Baron's abuse of his wife, the search leads to a fisherman who saw the wife get taken by a faint, with the daughter escaping to Oxenford. Geralt meets an old acquaintance, sorceress Karamaz, who leads him to the Ladies of Woods in a Crookback Bog, after running into the Wild Hunt in an ancient elven laboratory. After meeting Gran, who takes care of the orphans in the bog, Geralt meets the crones of the Crookback Bog and completes the task for them, dealing with the Whispering Halleck in exchange for Ciri's whereabouts. He also discovers that Gran is Anna, the Baron's wife, and the crones are holding her hostage. This helps the Baron to free his wife from the crones, and the Baron tells Geralt that Ciri was heading towards Novigrad. After arriving in Novigrad, Geralt finds that witches are captured there and brutally burned to death by the order of King Radovid. He finds Triss Marigold, who is helping witches and mages in the city to flee. She instructs him to visit an oniromancer, Karina Tilly, who can interpret dreams. She reveals that Geralt should find his friend Dandelion, who was captured and imprisoned after a failed heist. Through former Redania spy master Dijkstra and King Radovid, Geralt obtains the information of Dandelion's whereabouts. With the help of a Doppler named Dudu and Dandelion's love interest Priscilla, the Witcher makes Dandelion transferred out from his prison by a fake order. Geralt and Zoltan then intercept on the road to rescue him. After being rescued, Dandelion revealed that Ciri was helping him on heist, and she disappeared while he was captured by the witch hunters. He also recalls that Ciri seemed to be preparing for lifting the curse. They guess she might be heading to Skellig for the trace of Yennefer there. In Skellig, Geralt meets with Yennefer at the funeral of King Bran. At the wake, Geralt and Yennefer steal the Mask of Ouroboros from the druid Ermion. Yennefer has Geralt use the mask in a decimated forest to see visions of past, such as Ciri's arrival with a mysterious mage, and her escape from Skellig. This leads to Lofton, where Yennefer sees Skill, a man from the village who helped Ciri escape the Wild Hunt. Finding his body in Freya's garden after Skill was cast out of Lofton for cowardice, Yennefer uses Necromancer to get information from Skill's corpse about Ciri. After Ciri disappears in Novigrad, her elven companion rescues her and tells Skill to look after her. However, the Wild Hunt attacks Lofton before long. Skill helps Ciri escape with her companion. She is then put to sleep by her companion and teleported away, with Skill seeing Uma, a deformed creature, a while later. Summoned upon the cruise, Geralt leaves in search for Uma, the monstrous baby-like creature who may be the key to finding Ciri. After collecting him from the Bloody Baron, who won the creature from a Skellig merchant, Geralt takes him to Kaer Morhen. There, Yennefer and the Witchers help lift the curse on Uma by administrating a potion of infamous trial of grasses. Uma transforms into Everlark, an elf from Wild Hunt. He reveals that he hid Ciri in the Elves' mists. Geralt plans to bring her to Kaer Morhen so they can stand against the Wild Hunt when they come after her. After recruiting allies for his fight, Geralt then heads for the Isle of Mists. He finds Ciri in a death-like state, looked after by some dwarves. While grieving her death, Everlock's guide awakens her in Geralt's arms. Ciri explains that Eredin, the king of Wild Hunt, is afraid of his world falling into White Frost, and that he wishes to explore Ciri's power to evacuate his people and conquer other realms. Ciri teleports Geralt to Kaer Morhen while the Hunt chases after Dur. The Hunt arrive at Kaer Morhen and has a fierce battle with Geralt and his allies. During the battle, Vizimir is killed by Imerith, a Wild Hunt general, in trying to protect Ciri from the Hunt. Distraught, Ciri releases all her uncontrollable powers, causing Eredin and Hunt to retreat, followed by Everlock casting a spell rendering Ciri docile. In the aftermath, the remaining Witchers hold a funeral for Vizimir. Ciri is seeking for revenge for the death of Vizimir and asks Geralt to go to Bald Mountain to kill the one responsible, Imerith. Geralt challenges Imerith while Ciri faces against the crowns. While Imerith is defeated, a single crown escapes with Vizimir's wolf medallion. Everlock asks Geralt to travel with him to find the Wild Hunt general Gil in the world of Enel, and turn him against Eredin, with the Oneromancer Corina Tilly revealing the truth that Eredin has poisoned the previous king of Enel. They also learned about Sunstone found on Skellig that can lure Eredin out and trap him into a location. In order to gain more allies, Triss and Yennefer want to reform the Lodge of Sorceresses to help fight the Wild Hunt. Then Geralt rescues Philippa Earhart from Dijkstra and Margarita from the prison on Oxenford. But unfortunately, Keira Metz has been brutally executed by the Order of Radovid, and Sheila died after torment in the prison. As Dijkstra wants to unite North Kingdom against Nilfgaard, and Roche is seeking the independence of Temeria, they have a common goal to destroy Radovid. So they ask Geralt to help to assassinate the king. With Philippa's help, Geralt lures Radovid out of his ship, and Roger's blue stripes ambush him at Philippa's hideout. Eventually, Philippa kills Radovid, avenging the sorceresses. Leaving Novigrad, Geralt heads to Skellig and finds the Sunstone with the help of Philippa. In the hidden laboratory of Everlock, Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer learn about elder blood from a genealogical chart, which revealed that Ciri is a descendant of Lara Dorren, a mighty elven sorceress, which explains her tremendous magical power. After this, Ciri and Geralt return to Lofton, find Skier's body, and give him a rightful burial. On Undvik, Everlock uses the Sunstone, which draws the Hunt and their fleet out, so Geralt and his allies, along with the Nilfgaard fleet, can fight them. However, the Hunt freezes Geralt and the Nilfgaardians, which leads Ciri to volunteer to battle Caranthir, Eredin's right-hand man. After Ciri breaks spell, she is wounded and teleports away, upon which Geralt recovers from the freezing, approaches Caranthir and defeats him. Then Geralt boards the flagship of Wild Hunt and faces off against Eredin. In a brutal battle, Geralt emerges victorious. In his dying breath, Eredin reveals that Everlock has Ciri, and that he lied to them both. Yennefer then saves Geralt from the Hounds of Hunt and sets out to find Everlock in a nearby tower. Meanwhile, the legendary conjunction of the sphere occurs, and numerous monsters and a rain of ice is set upon the area, leading to the beginning of White Frost. Inside the tower, Geralt confronts Everlock, who drops his sword and tells him that he was helping Ciri, which Geralt doesn't believe. Ciri then appears and explains that only the Elder Blood can stop the White Frost before it consumes all life on every world, predicted by prophecy. Afterwards, she goes through the portal and confronts the White Frost, ending the threat by destroying its source. After Ciri returns, Geralt helps her become a Witcher.